Good to be here.
Yeah, so you're in town. You are speaking at the BPW event here in town. So
Yes, the Business and Professional Women's Club in this area.
yeah, thank you very much for stopping in to see us. And a lot of people out there, if you're like me, sometimes you dread networking. I know when I was younger I did, for sure. Now I don't mind it so much. Is that common?
It's not unusual at all, and I understand completely. I used to be a computer programmer.
Oh, wow.
With all the social skills that implies.
Okay, yeah, that's
I know
awesome.
where everybody's coming from, and yeah, it's awkward, it's uncomfortable, it feels like you're walking to your first junior high school dance.
Yeah.
I mean, that's hard to do, but there are techniques that you can follow. There are tools you can learn. It's not something you're born with.
Yeah.
So without giving away all the goods that you'll be sharing with the women this afternoon, what are a few things you could teach Andy, myself, and the viewers about networking?
Well, the first one I would say is that it's not about going to the events. You know, if you assume that going to the events is all it is to networking, that's like saying the warm-up is all that's important to working
Sure.
out.
Okay.
That gets you connected with other people, but then it's about developing relationships. It's about developing friendships on purpose. So
Yeah,
that's the
absolutely.
big thing, is just remember, you're making friends.
What are some of the challenges that we face? Is it, a lot of it is just kind of in our own head?
Yeah, a lot of it is. I mean, we walk in, we've got the stranger danger that we're always,
Yeah.
we're frightened of other people, and that's kind of normal, even if it's subconscious. But one of the things I tell people is walk in and pretend you are the host. Walk in and make it your duty to make other people comfortable. And suddenly it's not about you anymore. You don't have to think about what you're talking about. It's be
Yeah.
curious.
That's great advice. So how did you go from becoming a computer programmer
Yeah, this is-
to somebody that inspires people to get out of their comfort zone and out into the world more?
Well, I decided to start my own business.
Okay.
Doing web development,
Oh, okay.
and I discovered that the phone, if you aggressively wait by your phone, nothing happens.
Isn't that
So
funny?
I had to go out and do the networking in order to make the business grow. And I was horrible at it, but I learned. And then after a time, I decided that this was no longer feeding my soul.
Okay.
And I was complaining to a friend of mine from the local chamber, and she said, well, did you ever think about teaching people how you grew your business?
Oh.
And that was how the Reluctant Networker was born.
That's cool. And you've written a book, Hello and a Handshake. Tell us about that.
Yeah, this is basically all the techniques that I had to learn the hard way from about how to actually be successful at those networking events, how to go in, how to have conversations, how to get past your own negative mindsets. And so I kind of brought it all together in one place so that people who were like I was have a simple resource that they can call on.
I love that you went from something so different and just completely turned it upside down. Which did you enjoy better, what you're doing now or computer programming?
Oh, what I'm doing now,
Yeah.
entirely.
Yeah.
It's the whole idea is you still have to work to get the work.
Okay.
But when you were a computer programmer, if they called you back in a month, it was because something went wrong.
They were upset.
Now if they call me back after a month, they love me so much, they want me to do something else. So.
I love it. So do you travel around and talk to different organizations?
Oh
or-
yeah, sure, all over the country actually. I've been as far south as Louisiana and all the way out west, San Diego.
Oh,
So
nice.
it's great to be able to go all over the country and meet people and connect with them.
What are some myths about networking?
The big one is that you're going to the event to sell.
Sure.
And a lot of people, I've had people come up to say, the biggest challenge I have is I can't close. Well, duh, you're not supposed to be doing that.
Yeah.
Right.
You are supposed to be making those connections. It's about meeting new people. And so if you can kind of banish that, don't worry about that because it will come as you make better connections.
No, that's great advice. So what are you looking forward to in today's event?
You know, I've heard there's going to be a great group of people all gathered together in one place. And what I love is just giving them a few tools to help them interact and to see just the animation, the dynamic that increases as they learn how to do this with each other better.
What advice do you give your staff when they're going to networking events? I think we both could probably pick up on something.
You know, something that you verbalized that we do, but I've never been able to verbalize it, is just go there and pretend that it's your event and figure out how you can make other people more comfortable. My industry, although it's called sales, is actually very service oriented. So see what other people need, and if you notice their drink is low, can I get you, I'm going to go get a tea, can I get you some more, and those types of things for me have been positive, but I love that you put it in a verbal instruction.
Well, and on top of that, what you talked about, that's a perfect example of how you build better connections in general. It's not always about you. You're not always about selling your services.
Right.
It's about building your network to put in service to your network.
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know.
so many times you get to these events and you seek out the one or two people you know, and then you just stand next to
Yes.
them the whole time. I'm sure you'll have some similar stories today, and you want to avoid that, correct?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that if that's what your goal is. But if your goal is to meet new people, then meet them first and then go stand with the people you know. I mean, it's perfectly all right if you want to make that your goal. Is to, I want to go and see Andy. I want to go see Jennifer and talk with them just for a few minutes. That's great. But understand and be purposeful about it.
So I had asked you how it came to be that you were at today's event, and I think it speaks to your ability as a networker. So how do you funnel your business most?
Almost all of my business comes from referral. I make the connections, I go out and I speak, and then I meet the people there, and then we build connections, and they say, oh, by the way, you know, I'd like you to come in for our morning huddle. Would you be happy to do that? Yeah, sure.
What's the best advice you've received in business and networking?
The best advice, it's almost always about them.
Very good. I like that.
If you're focused on yourself, you're not going to be successful. I mean, think about it even just in a social sense. If you're
Right.
only focused on yourself, who's going to want to be your friend?
Yeah.
No one.
So.
Yeah, good point. Great point. So that's awesome. How can people, do you have a website? How can people get a hold of you?
I do. It's called thereluctantnetworker.com.
Awesome. And where can we pick up your book?
Book is available on Amazon, or if you come to Jackson DPW today, I will have them available.
Very
Oh,
good.
nice. And that is at the Cascade Manor House, correct?
It is.
Oh, wonderful.
Before we let you go, how can we adopt a networking mindset?
The big thing is to be aware of what you're trying to accomplish.
Okay.
It's about making better connections. It's about making friends on purpose.
Yeah.
It's not about sales. The sales will come later.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is great advice.
Well, Greg, thank you so much, and hope you have a great presentation today. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
The Reluctant Networker, Greg Peters, here on The Morning Show. We'll be right back after this quick break.